Okay, I'm going to continue my discussion of the game between Colle and Delvaux, played in 1929. And we just left off on Black's seventh move, which was c4. So Black had just made the move c4. And then now White just makes the obvious move, retreating the bishop to c2. And now Black plays b5. What's the idea behind b5? Well, one, this signals two things to me. One, it's the start of some type of queenside pawn attack by Black, or it's simply Black trying to develop the bishop. And that's what we'll see later on in the game, is that this bishop here somewhat hemmed in, and Black now actually plans on playing the bishop to here. Will sort of have influence along this line. So now, actually, the stage is set. I mentioned before that White can play moves like rook to e1 and queen to e2, but White decides to go straight for the punch of e4 and make the timely e4 move, which is sort of freeing its pieces. Now you can see that this advance is well supported, and it frees this bishop. You can almost see the freeing of the pieces with this move. Black is practically obligated to take this pawn, because if Black doesn't take the pawn will just now move up and attack this knight, which the knight will be forced to move, removing one of the best defenders to the Black king side. And then these bishops, as you can see, these bishops have great scope. The queen can come out, etc., etc. So Black is practically forced to take this pawn, and now White just recaptures with a knight, and now definitely this bishop here has been, freed. So what does Black do? And maybe I should just pause here and look at the relative position by looking at the sort of elements. Tactics, these are how I evaluate a position. Tactics, there's no real tactics going on right now. Material is even. King safety, well, the white king is slightly safer than the black king. But the real difference is when I get to piece activity, this knight here is much better posted, meaning it has a lot more activity than its counterparts. Or maybe you can almost say this counterpart right here. But what I see is the big difference is control of the center. Obviously Black controls this square here, this central square, but White controls this central square, and I really say, even though this e4 square is in dispute somewhat, because it's both attacked by one piece, I say White actually can easily control it. So White actually has better central control, and since most of the attacks will come through the center, then White is standing better for piece activity. You can almost see that White's bishops are much more active than the counterparts. So White has the reason White has a better game. You can almost look at it and say White has a better game. The reason is because it's controlled the center and the pieces are more active. Okay, let's move on with the game. So Delvaux castled, increasing the king safety. So now king safety is practically even at this point. And now White developed the queen to e2. This is actually now there's a tactic going on, because what can happen now, and if you don't see it, here's what it is. Let's say White or Black, I'm not going to make a move for Black, but let's say Black just made some very simple move, like maybe just a6, just something totally offbeat. Well, now white could play knight takes f6, check. The bishop's going to recapture, and now white has the move e4, threatening mate and attacking the knight. So white would win the knight. So there is a tactic involved with queen to e2. So how does black move? Just backing up to the position. Black plays bishop to b7, developing the bishop and also protecting the knight. And also, this bishop now has some influence along this line. The pawns are gone, so definitely if the knight here is moved or traded off, this bishop would gain a lot more scope. So the bishop, by simply developing to b7, has actually developed and become a more active piece. So what is what is white's next move? Well, white moved knight on f to g5. And this does actually contain a tactic of possibly, let's say, white once again makes just some random move like a6. Then white threatens to win a pawn this way. So, but that isn't the real reason behind the move knight on f to g5. It's actually to what one of your goals is when you're attacking the king is to make your opponent move one of these pawns so you can attack it. And black should be trying to do the same thing, but in this game it's obviously Colle who seems to be on the attack now. So what Colle is really trying to do is trying to get, because there's no real weakness yet in the king and the black king's position, so he's trying to get his opponent to create a weakness, and he's going to do that by threatening to win some material. So by threatening to win some material, black creates a weakness which white will then attack. So black makes the move h6, now putting the question to the knight. And I think a lot of us may just be tempted to move the knight back and then say, okay, well great, I got a pawn weakness, and we've seen games to where white has sacrificed the bishop here to open things up. But now Colle says, well, okay, I got the black king to move this pawn here. So it goes out by taking away or attacking another thing of the king's safety, which is, I talked about pawn shields, defenders, open lines, and what Colle does is he's going to take away a defender. Colle plays knight, takes f6, check. So he's going to take away the knight, which is a very good defender of the king's side. So then black obviously plays bishop takes f6, not to disrupt the pawn structure. And now maybe some people would still move the knight back, but Colle plays queen e4, now threatening mate on h6. So what is black to do? What would you do as black? There seem to only be two sort of moves in this position. And maybe stop your viewer, and actually I'm running low for once again on time, so I'm going to have to continue this lecture. But what move would you make as black? Let me continue this in the next lecture.